Welcome to the Wedding Business Growth Coach podcast, a podcast dedicated to sharing everything you need in bite-sized episodes to set up your wedding business for success and get your diary fully booked, full of those dream wedding clients. You're here with me, Jen Maynard, Wedding Business Growth Coach and founder of the Boho Bride Guide wedding blog and supplier directory. Each episode is full of value and structured around my wedding business anchor fundamentals framework to give you straightforward, step-by-step activities to put in place into your business that will position yourself as the go-to wedding supplier within your specialism. Let's go! Hello and welcome to this episode of the Wedding Business Growth Coach podcast. It is amazing to have you with us. Today I'm going to be sharing an Instagram live I recently did with the fabulous Sara Price from Sara Price Celebrants, and she's going to be talking to us all around the recent recommendations published around the wedding law reform. Sarah's going to be talking to us about what is the wedding law reform to get us started and why has it come about. We're going to be covering what are the main changes on the horizon that wedding planning couples as well as ourselves as wedding suppliers should be aware of, and how will the wedding law reform benefit our couples planning their wedding. And also, what is the next step in regards to the recommendations being confirmed and implemented in England and Wales? So without further ado, I'm going to kick straight off into our Instagram live with the fabulous Sara Price Celebrant. Hello, how you doing, Sarah?
Good, thank you very much.
Lovely to see you. Thank you for your patience with the tech. We got there. It is lovely to welcome you on our live this afternoon. We are going to kick straight off. So I was mentioning earlier, the recommendations from the Law Commission were published last Tuesday, all around wedding law reforms for England and Wales. And you have kindly offered to come and share your knowledge and updates all around what is going on in especially the celebrant world at the moment, but on the wider world of weddings. So Sarah, firstly, could you share a little bit more about you and what you specialise in?
Hi, yes, thank you, Jen. Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Sara Price. I am an independent celebrant and I write beautiful, fun, personal and totally unique ceremonies for young, professional, young at heart even, couples who want to have a wedding ceremony that is just amazing. That's what I do.
Just really. And just before the Instagram, you were telling me about a wedding that you were at this week, and it's just an absolute dream, and a ceremony that's really personalised and true to the couple that you work with individually.
Yeah,
amazing. And so, are you able to kick us off? We're aiming this for couples that are in their wedding planning zone, whether it's in a couple years' time or even a bit ahead, in front of that. Could you start off? Let's start at the basics. What is the wedding law reform and why has it come about?
Okay, so if you don't mind, I'm going to refer to notes so I don't leave anything out that could be crucial to somebody.
Brilliant.
Currently, we are still basing most of our marriage laws on the Marriage Act of 1836. Now, as we all know, the world which we live in is actually not very like that anymore. And what's happened over the years is that as life has changed, different things get added on to this act. So for example, gay marriage was an add-on. But over the years, there have been lots of little add-ons. And it's resulted in lots of inequalities and unfairness. And so the government finally woke up to this and have asked the Law Commission to ask them to create an in-depth study and then a report into those marriage acts and how we can bring it up to date.
Okay.
So their report was finally published on the 19th, and it is called A New Wedding Law.
Okay. Okay.
Really simple and to
Innovative.
the point.
Okay. And so when we're looking, or for people that are listening and that they're planning their wedding, what are the main changes on the horizon that wedding planning couples will see and will have to be aware of, Sarah?
Yeah. Okay. Put very simply, at the moment when you get married, you have to choose between a legal ceremony in a church or a legal ceremony with the registrars. That's your choice for legal marriage ceremonies in England and Wales currently. And so the biggest change from my perspective, but will also impact on all the couples going forward, is that they are removing the requirement for a building to be licensed to conduct marriages, and they are instead recommending that a government license or authorize the license of officiants to conduct legal marriages. So with a bit of luck, that would be me.
Yeah.
No, it would be, say, the individual officiants, not a building or anything like that.
Okay.
So once that's sort of established, and if that whole report then is based on that premise,
Okay.
that we should be able to be licensed to conduct legal marriages, us are licensed to do that.
Okay.
So within that, then, for the first time ever, both independent celebrants and humanist celebrants have been added to the list for government to consider approving as officiants.
Yeah.
Also added to the list will be nominated officiants from other religions, because there are, sadly, in this country, wedding marriage ceremonies conducted in other religious gathering places that are not considered legal unless they've had a civil legal ceremony as well.
Okay.
But they don't know that. So there are thousands of couples who married within their own religion who just are not legally married. But now, for the first time, we are being added to the fold, if you like, or at least as far as celebrants are concerned, we have had the door opened for us to be considered to be allowed to conduct legal marriages.
Super exciting. Okay. I was going to pick up on when you said us and the officiants, Sarah. Could you clarify the sort of, the who would that class as, just so to make it really clear for people watching?
So they have considered 5 groups of people who could be legally allowed to marry. The first is registration officers, and then in the same sort of side of the equation could be celebrants and maritime officers, all allowed to conduct civil weddings. And then the other side would be the more religious side of things, so the Anglican Church and other religious nominated officiants, and humanist celebrants and other non-belief officiants. So would all sort of come under the religious side. So of those, it is the independent celebrants, humanist celebrants, and other non-belief organisations who still have to be agreed with and approved by government.
Okay.
But it's a possibility. The door has been opened. So
yes,
yeah.
with you. Okay, and so once the recommendation, so we've still got a journey to go, as we know.
Yeah.
This is the recommendations, and there's still a bit of a process and consultation that still needs to take place. But if as we see it, with this more opportunity, so there's the religious side, but it opens the door for the more non-religious and to get wed where and by whom is a lot more freedom around it. How will these changes affect people planning their wedding ceremony sort of now and then into the future? What will be the main differences that they see once this is in place?
Once this is in place, every officiant would be the same.
Okay.
On paper. So, but the biggest changes that couples will see is a removal of discrimination. So it won't matter, except possibly still to the Anglican Church and other religions, whether you're a gay couple or of any other sort of persuasion. It won't matter whether you are a mixed faith couple.
Yeah.
You can have the ceremony that you would like, which is combining elements of both of those religions within a celebrant ceremony.
Yeah.
It will and have that be legal.
Yes. Yeah.
So far more choice, a removal of discrimination. You can choose any location. And so with celebrants currently do this already, but you can choose any location for the legal marriage. All the officiant celebrant has to do is ensure that it is safe.
So it will remove the need to plan your dream ceremony on a cliff top with your loved ones and then have to go to the registry office to actually get the legal piece of paper.
Layer. Yeah, it
can
removes
all
that
be
double
done
layer. All done at the same time on that cliff top, if that's where you want to be.
Yeah.
And you can choose any time of day. Now, church ministers, religious ministers, and registration officers may still only be able to work office hours, but your independent celebrants will work any hours. So if you want to have a candlelight service in your garden, you can have that.
Yes.
So a sunset ceremony on the beach, you can have that. We don't mind the sunrise. Might be a bit more of a struggle for some of us, but we can do it.
It can be done.
It can be done.
Amazing. And I suppose from the practicality side of getting ready for a ceremony, what will couples see that's different? What will they need to consider?
Okay, so they would still have to. This is if you choose to have a civil wedding with a celebrant.
With you,
you would still need to register give notice of marriage, so your intention to marry within 12 months of the date that you wish to get married on. But one of the recommendations is that you can start that giving notice process online. So, for example, if you live and work abroad, but you want to come back to this country to get married, then you can apply online and give notice online. But you still have to have a live face-to-face meeting with a registrar. But again, the recommendation is that you should be able to nominate the most convenient registration office for the couple. For where they would like to have that meeting. And that's usually within 28 days of initiating the process.
Okay.
And then after they've had that face-to-face meeting, they will then have their marriage schedule issued to them.
Yeah.
Now, that bit of paper is absolutely vital.
Okay.
You have to bring it to your wedding. Now, if that's going to be one thing too many for you to remember, then it could just be that it's easier for once you get it, you just send it straight on to your celebrant so that they can keep it in your file, and it's their responsibility to bring it. But that bit of paper has to be at the ceremony.
Okay. So it's as important as the rings. You've got to
It
put
is.
it
It
high
is
fire.
absolutely. In fact, I would say it was even more
Yeah,
important than
yes,
the
it's
rings.
not going to happen otherwise. Okay.
When they have their face-to-face meeting, the registrars will ask them, as they do now, which venue they've chosen,
Yeah.
because you can't book or give notice of marriage without knowing your venue. But they will also have to then ask the name of, if it's not going to be a registrar, then you have to have a name to supply for the officiant.
Okay.
Because that name will be entered on the schedule.
What happens if you get married on a cliff top, like with the whole venue side of things?
Yeah, somewhere down near St Just or Pendine or Land's End or somewhere like that on the cliff tops.
So they've got an idea.
So there's geographic location.
Yes,
is potentially enough. Whether they'll ask you to, do Google Maps and give you a pin reference thing, I don't know. But they may. This is all to be decided, but the GRO, the Registrar General, would be his office would be the ones to decide on the actual information needed, and work it all out. And say there's a long way to go before we get to that stage. So for now, for couples, when they're choosing their venue, they also need to think about who they would like to conduct their ceremony. And whilst the rules apply to all kinds of officiants, as far as any content you like, there's realistic practicalities to consider, because celebrants only do one ceremony in a day, usually. And we get to know our couples over a period of time, so that by the time we get to their wedding day, we're almost best friends. We know so much information about them. It's a huge trust and responsibility. But it means that you're getting married by somebody that you already know. Whereas with the registrars, they don't plan more than a month out who's going to do which ceremonies. So they might at that stage get in touch with a couple to start, trying to personalize the ceremony a little bit. But they potentially have 3, 4, 5 and upwards ceremonies to do in any particular day. They won't necessarily have the time to write a beautiful ceremony script just for that couple. So I'm at the moment not at all sure how that can work, and whether they would also have to charge more if a celebrant was given the responsibility of creating an individual ceremony. A registrar was given that responsibility. I honestly have no idea how they would be planning to work that out. So yes, those I think are the main things that they need to consider right at the beginning. Where they want to get married. And who they would like to marry them.
And so for the wedding law reform, the recommendations have been shared. What is next, Sarah? What do we need to be looking out for? What's on the horizon next? Because I know there's still
so
way to go.
Next steps then are the Justice Department have up to 6 months to publish an interim response to this report. And then a further 6 months to publish a final response to it. I don't know what format that takes. It's not something I've ever had to think about knowing before. But obviously, from our perspective, we hope that the Justice Department agree in principle with the recommendations by the Law Commission, who, let's face it, are highly qualified people in their own right. So They are professors, they are lawyers, they are on the case on every aspect.
Yeah.
So their recommendations have not been made lightly. They have been considered for a very, very long time.
Yeah.
So the Justice Department has, on the face of it, very little reason to object or to question extremely. But once they have published their final response, then it needs to go to government for a bill to be drafted, and then it needs to go through 3 readings, several readings, because it's got to go through the House of Commons, then it's got to go to the Lords, then it comes back to Commons. So it all takes time. So I think realistically, we're not looking for any changes to happen in less than 2 years. I mean, they may just suddenly get a rocket up their backsides and really get onto it, because frankly, just to be totally opinionated for a minute, it's a vote winner.
Yeah.
There are so many people around the country who are potentially affected by this.
Yeah.
Why wouldn't they want to approve it and go with it and follow the recommendations that the Law Commission have made?
Yeah.
And I would also suspect that the Registrar General's office have already got a lot of the work already in process, and
they're ready to rock.
Ready to rock and roll as it's needed. But I think everyone has to be realistically based and say it's probably going to be about 2 years.
Yeah. So if you're looking at a wedding date of 2024 and beyond, it's something it's worth keeping on top of, keeping up to date with the progress of, because it could well open some doors for more opportunity and more to personalise your ceremony. Okay. And we've had quite a few people join us in the last sort of couple of minutes. So are we able to just recap on the main benefits that the this wedding law reform will bring for wedding planning couples?
Okay, so the main one from my perspective and for couples is that the door has been opened for independent celebrants and humanist celebrants to be approved to conduct legal marriages. Whether you're a registration officer, a celebrant, clergyman, or a representative of any other religious body, we are all in the report called officiants, so as not to differentiate or distinguish in any way. And all of us would be following the same rules as far as the recommendations go. So there'll be no more discrimination regarding religion or personal choices. There'll be greater choice of venue, time, ceremony content, and the benefits, or the greatest benefit of all with a celebrant is that it would now be legal.
Amazing, which is big. It makes it not. I don't think it could be any more special, but it makes it even more sort of momentous, doesn't it? That you can do all of it at that point, that it means that you are legally married at that time where you're sharing your vows with each other. It's massively important.
It makes the whole day more significant.
Definitely.
It really does. It really does.
And just before I ask the next question, Sarah, if anyone listening has got any queries or questions that you'd like to put in the comments, please do. I'll keep an eye on it, and at the end we'll answer any queries you may have. And so for the progression of this, you've talked us through the various steps that the recommendations have got to go through. As always, with anything new in the law world, it is shared by it is sort of people are able to influence how the proceedings. And so how can people within the wedding world, with whether they're planning their wedding how can we drive this positive change forward?
Okay, so for all of you lovely couples out there who are newly engaged or are in process of planning your wedding, first of all, please support these recommendations, support the Law Commissioner's report. You can lobby your Member of Parliament by emailing a letter to them. You have to make sure you put your name and address at the top of your letter, because otherwise they won't even look at it, apparently. It's just rude. But you can write to them and say how much of a difference it would make to you. You've chosen to have, or you would like to have, a celebrant ceremony, and how much of a difference it would make to you to be able to have a legal celebrant ceremony. Yeah. You can post on social media that you support wedding reform, which I can see actually that Laura has used that hashtag, I support wedding law reform. Good girl, Laura. So yes, use the hashtags which are in the text below this, Jen. Is that where it is?
I'll put this in the Boho Bride Guide grid, and it will be, all the details will be in the caption. Perfect,
thank you. You can download a badge which you can then have on your social media as well, which is a circular green badge with white writing saying I support wedding law reform. And you can go, for that, you can go to independentcelebrants.com, and you should be able to find a link to download it there. You can use the hashtags, which will be in the caption, but they are hashtag change wedding law, hashtag speak up for celebrants, and hashtag legalize celebrant weddings. So if you can do all of those, then that would be absolutely amazing. And thank you very, very much from me and from all other celebrants.
Amazing. And from our fellow wedding suppliers, is anything additional that we can consider to support this as well?
There is, yes. So please include more celebrants in your style shoots. Because if people, when the photographs from style shoots are amazingly beautiful, they're totally controlled. But if you can include a few photos with a celebrant and your model couple, then that would just be amazing. Secondly, you could please tag a celebrant by name at any weddings that you are suppliers for. And that doesn't matter how you're supplying, whether you're supplying chair covers or making the wedding cake or anything. If there's going to be a celebrant there, please tag them in your posts.
Good shout.
And also you can write to your MPs as well, in support of this reform.
Brilliant. Okay.
Anything at all that suppliers and couples can do in this way is going to be hugely helpful.
That's amazing, Sarah. I cannot thank you enough for sharing those updates. Really, really helpful. And I'm not a reader, so the report just sort of blows my mind. But actually just talking to you and hearing it, just chatting about it has really helped me. So I really am sure it's helped a lot of people this afternoon just hear you talk through the main highlights there. So Sarah, how can people get in touch with you, learn a bit more about what you are all about? Where's the best place to find you?
You can find me here on Instagram as Sara Price Celebrant. There is no H on Sarah. If you go looking for one with an H, goodness knows who you'll find. So Sara Price Celebrant on Instagram, Sara Price Celebrant on Facebook, and my website is https://www.sarapricecelebrant.co.uk. So essentially, you just keep looking for Sara Price Celebrant, and I turn up everywhere.
Blooming brilliant, blooming brilliant. That's fab. And it looks like you have covered all of the main points. We haven't had any, I've been keeping an eye, we haven't had any like questions per se, but I just want to say thank you so much for sharing and being courageous and coming on an Instagram live, because it always gets the butterflies going a little bit, as we know.
It does a bit. Never done one of these before.
Oh, well, that's amazing. You've done amazingly, and really articulate and really easy to follow, so thank you so much. I hope you enjoyed today's episode and took away some wedding business building value. Make sure you subscribe to the Wedding Business Growth Coach podcast to ensure you get notified every time a new episode goes live. See you next time.